Thank you, Professor. So, welcome everybody. Maybe people in back would like to come forward. Actually, if everybody's close, maybe this will not be so necessary. In any case, I was just reminded the topic. Just before the talk, this Sunim, he asked me, what will I talk about? I said, I have no idea. So I told him many years ago, I had to give a talk in the United States, and I was trying to prepare something and write something down, and my teacher saw that. So he said, not very pleasantly, he said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Don't make thinking. Only keep don't know. Then go and talk. So I told him, since then I never prepared Dharma talks. So hopefully something will come out, and now I know it should come out something about Zen life, moment life, which is a very broad subject, actually can include anything. I had a friend, he died a couple years ago. He was a Zen master in the Japanese tradition in United States, also an artist, a photographer, a very interesting person. He used to, his Zen center, he had a big Zen center in Catskill Mountains, New York State. And in his Zen center, once a year, he used to organize a big conference and then invite people from different religions, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, any kind of religion, and also some Buddhists to talk about, well, there was different things. Each year there was some different topic. So I was invited a couple times to come and sort of represent Zen tradition in these meetings. So the first time I came, during a question and answer period, somebody asked me about bowing practice, because in the Quantum School, which I'm part of, we do daily bowing practice. Minimum is 108 bows, but there are people who do regularly 500 every day or 1,000 every day. And I myself has done as many as 5,000 every day. In this other Zen tradition, this Japanese Soto tradition, they don't really do bowing practice. That's unheard of. So people were curious, why do you do that? So I explained, sometimes, not sometimes, but very often, sitting Zen time, there's a lot of thinking. So outside looks very wonderful, but inside there's a lot happening. But when people do bowing, there's not so much thinking, because anytime you do some kind of body action, whether it's exercise, dancing, martial arts, or something, there's not so much thinking. So bowing is very physical kind of practice. So also there's not much thinking that time. So I said sometimes bowing is better than sitting. So next day there was another question and answer period. Then the what we call head Dharma teacher is like in Korean temple would we call it Ipsung but this was a lay woman, and we say head Dharma teacher. She asked me very angrily. She said, yesterday you said bowing is better than zazen. In this Japanese tradition they call sitting, just like we say chason. In Korea they say zazen. But zazen is the highest practice. That's how we teach. So how can you say something is better than zazen? So I asked her, well, what is zazen? Then she made the correct posture, like this. So as she made this very correct meditation posture, she looked at me and I was sort of smiling, actually maybe laughing. So she started thinking, checking herself. Then she relaxed and said, actually I don't know. I don't know. So I told this story, in China, this Joju Zen master, when he was a young man, came to temple. At first he was very serious practitioner. So any free time, he would just sit and practice. So the temple Zen master, his teacher, was a little concerned for him. So he asked the abbot to go talk to him. So the abbot went and talked to him, then came back and reported to the Zen master. So the Zen master had asked, why does he sit Zen? What's his purpose? What's his direction? So the abbot reported that the answer this young man gave was to become Buddha. He wanted to become Buddha. So he's practicing to become Buddha. So next time he went to the garden to sit, the Zen master also went to the garden, sat next to him, then picked up a rock and started polishing it. So after a while, this man asked Zen Master, oh, what are you doing? Then Zen Master said, I'm making a mirror. I'm polishing this rock to make a mirror. Then this serious practitioner started laughing, ha 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 ha. Even if you polish this rock your whole life, you will never make a mirror. Then the Zen master started laughing. Even you sit Zen like this your whole life, you will never become Buddha. So this really hit his mind. So he very humbly he said, so where is my mistake? Then the Zen master explained, if you have a horse hitched to a cart and you want the cart to move, which do you hit, the cart or the horse? Yeah. So everybody understands what to do in that situation, right? So I said, so same way, this correct sitting posture, that's only body zazen. So body zazen, that's not correct zazen. Yeah? Most important is how you keep your mind. So then nobody was angry anymore. So I said, if you correctly understand zazen, then any body position, any situation can become your practice. If you only understand this formal posture, then your zazen is very limited. But a chicken then is better practitioner than you. Yeah? Chicken can sit still for many hours when it's laying on an egg, yeah? Trying to hatch an egg. But Zen practitioners cannot sit like that. So chicken is better. So then everybody understood, so this mind practice is very important. The body practice, we use that only to help our mind practice. So sometimes we have to be pragmatic. So we use whatever works. So for some people, bowing works. For some people, sitting works very well. For some people, chanting is very good practice. In Korea, many people use chanting practice. This sitting practice, not so many people. Mostly this yebu, or they call it kido. People do kido practice. So they all have their use. So if we are pragmatic, we use that which works, which helps people. Yeah. So on the way, as we are practicing, some difficulties can and will appear. So I will want to talk a little bit about some difficulties or hindrances in practice. But actually, before I even get to that, I want to talk, say a few words about how we teach Zen practice in my tradition, where I come from. And actually, this is based on old Chinese and Korean teaching. It hasn't come, it's not just my teacher's idea. He learned it from his teacher, who learned it from his teacher, etc., etc. So, because nowadays, what I hear from Korean masters and from other Sunims, the Zen teaching has changed a little bit. It's a little bit different. The main teaching nowadays is just keeping huadu. Huadu means some question. Yeah? Skipping some question. But our teaching is not so much about, and also keeping this question and concentration, strong concentration. But our style is not about concentration. Actually, I never teach concentration. Also, we use question, but we use this question only to allow us to return to before thinking. The name of this before thinking is don't know. So the very basic question is can be what am I or what is this? In Korean they say imoko. What is this? Then don't know appears. This don't know cuts off all thinking. Cuts off all thinking means it's before thinking, but if you return to before thinking, there's no don't know. So actually the words are not important. It's more just returning to the sense of not knowing. And as I said, there's no concentration involved, and I will want to explain why. My teacher had a friend who was a very famous Hindu yoga teacher, yoga master. His name was Swami Sachidananda. In the United States, he was quite famous. A person with many students. And he had a big center called Yogaville in Massachusetts. So a couple times we all went there, and my teacher gave a talk there to Swami students, and sometimes Swami came to our Zen center also. and talk to us about their way of practicing. So, in any case, the second time we went there, after Zen Master Sung San gave a Dharma talk, one young man came to him and said, Zen Master, I have a question, but this question I will need to ask you in private. So now you are very busy, so is it okay if I come in a few days to your center and talk to you? And then my teacher said, sure, please come. So indeed, a few days later, this young man came. So my teacher took him to his room and asked for some tea to be brought in, and then they talked. Now it just so happened, even though they were in private, there was nothing private in our Zen center at that time. It was just a small apartment, and we could hear everything. Sitting in Dharma room, which was right next to Zen Master Sung San's room, we could hear every word very clearly from that room. So the Zen Master asked him, so how can I help you? What's your question? So he said, it's like this. I've been practicing yoga for 10 years, very intensely, with my teacher. And when I do meditation or do my yoga practice, everything is very clear, and my mind is very powerful. In fact, it has come to the point where this teacup in front of me, I can bring to my lips without using my hands, just using my mind. So then Zen Master said, okay, so what? So this young man said, well, I have a problem. He said, yesterday, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had to go somewhere, and to go there, I had to take a bus. So I went to the bus stop, and there are several buses which stop at this bus stop. So I was waiting for my number, the right bus for me. So I was waiting, and all of a sudden I realized my bus came and already went. So I tried running to catch it, but it was too late. I couldn't. So this means he was standing, then he went into, we call it samadhi, very strong concentration, just one point. So bus came, he cannot see the bus. So the mind not clear. This one point is very clear, but mind not clear. So bus came and went. So this is the difference. So this is what my teacher explained to him. He talked to him about clear mind and samadhi mind, how they are different. Yeah. So that's why this kind of concentration practice we don't teach. Instead, just return to don't know, return to before thinking. Then only keep clear mind. So as I said, there are some hindrances that happen. So people have difficulties. First difficulty for new practitioners is usually the body. That's number one. Yeah. Maybe for Korean people it's not so much problem because from young age you are used to maybe sitting on the floor, yeah, cross-legged. But for Western people it's really big problem. We don't have this kind of tradition, we don't have the habit. So I know from my own experience when I first tried sitting cross-legged, it was excruciating, very painful. And then not only legs painful, also back becomes very painful. I had many back problems. So that's difficulty number one. Actually, in retrospect, that was a wonderful time, not so difficult. Because when you have this kind of physical problem, it's very easy to practice. I will explain more. It sounds maybe confusing now, but what happened is the pains went away. So in my experience, there came a time when sitting was no longer a problem. So I could sit even long time, cross-legged, half lotus, even full lotus position, okay. Then very comfortable sitting, but then a lot of emotion appeared. And this was actually much more painful than this body pain. You know? A lot of emotional pain appeared. So I thought, before only body pain, that's better. Better than this pain. It wasn't pleasant to do practice, because especially during formal practice, this would appear. When I was busy during the day, it was fine. Yeah? But this emotional pain comes from thinking. So when you are quiet and still, all this thinking becomes more clear. So this emotional pain also becomes more clear. But also it's possible to get through it. So more practicing, then all this emotional pain disappeared. Then the real problem started. So at first I just wanted this to go away. Yeah? First the body pain, then this emotional pain. But later I thought, those were the good times. Because sleepiness appeared. That was the worst. The worst problem of all. Everything too comfortable, then soon sleeping. Yeah? Very difficult to overcome also. Yeah? So sleeping Zen, okay. I also, if we persist, we can learn how to make that as our practice. In other words, how to overcome this kind of problem. So is to just try what we call try mind. Persist. Be patient. Continue. Don't stop. Somebody told me just yesterday, they don't understand, but many people start practicing, then they stop. Yeah, problems appear, they stop. This means not only practicing, in life is the same way. In our life, whatever we see in Zen center with people, they are the same way in their life outside Zen center. So that means some difficulty appear in whatever endeavor they try, soon they stop. The problem I find, and this is kind of older person's speech, because as an older person I have some body of life experience that I can draw upon. As an older person, I can say that I find in life the things that are the most worthwhile are usually not the easy things to do. They can be difficult things. But they are the ones that are the most worthwhile to do. Yeah. So, there's one teaching I had from my teacher, which I always remembered when these difficulties appeared. There was a time when he was trying to introduce me to a girl. Actually, not introduce me. I knew this girl, and I liked her. But he thought we might make a good couple. Yeah. So he said to me, Jacob, what do you think about Louise? So I said, yeah, Louise is very nice and very pretty. He said, yeah, so you like her, right? I said, yeah, I like her. So he said, why don't you try? Then I said, well, I don't think she likes me that way. Then he said, you are stupid. He said, even if you have a dull axe, if you hit a tree 100 times, it will fall down. So actually, I didn't try. I liked this girl before, but after he tried to encourage me something, I was not maybe a good student. Yeah? Because he tried to encourage me, I was a little bit rebellious then. I said, no way. That was the end. Or who knows, maybe he understood that, and that was his purpose. So in any case, but this teaching about hitting a tree 100 times and it will fall down, this I always remembered. So when difficulties would appear, afterwards I never thought about stopping. Try again, and again, and again, and again. Yeah? Not only 100 times, if necessary 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times. So the truth is we can do anything. I lived in Paris, France, as was mentioned about Paris Zen Center, and one day I was watching television, and I was also, same time I was talking on the telephone, so I wasn't paying too much attention, but I knew it was some kind of, it was a sports channel, and they were talking about some runner, and this was a woman runner, and they called her world-class runner. But I just glanced at some of the times, her times, and they were okay. She could certainly run much faster than me, but they were not really outstanding times. But I was busy talking on the phone, so I didn't know in full what they were talking about. But my conversation ended, and then I realized what was so special about this woman. She had no legs. She was a world-class runner with prosthesis instead of legs. Both legs were cut off. And she was using just plastic prosthesis. And running. So I thought sometimes Zen students complain about practicing is hard. They should see this. Anything is possible. We really apply ourselves and try. I'm sure she went through a lot of pain. It wasn't easy to train herself to do sport like that, given her situation. Yeah. So whether it's practicing or learning piano, or in my case it's trying to learn Korean, we just have to keep on trying again and again and again. So I have a little story about that. Because human beings are very, nowadays, the way society teaches us and the educational system is such, we are very much focused on results. trying to get some result. So we check these results, and if we don't have result, some problem can appear. Yeah. This is a story I read in a newspaper many years ago. There was a family, which I guess they are descendants of some royal family in Europe. So they had some money still, although they were no longer royal. The daughter in the family was still a princess. They had some claim to royalty, although they had no country anymore. And because they were quite wealthy, they owned a chateau in the south of France, and they used to spend usually summers over there. The thing that was a little special about this princess was that she was very shy and always refused to do any interview. So many reporters, many paparazzi tried to follow her and tried to get her to say something. She always refused. No interview, no interview, no interview. Now, one summer, the family was in the south of France, and one of the people working in the house, on the staff, had a friend who was a reporter for local newspaper, small newspaper. So he told his friend, you know, this princess, she doesn't go out of the house during the day because she avoids the crowds, the people. But she goes out and takes a long walk every morning, just as the sun starts rising, you know, or even before. So he said, maybe this is, you know, this is a good chance for you. Maybe you can try to talk to her that time, because there's nobody around. The beach is empty. So this reporter thought, indeed, that's a good idea. So in the morning, he went to the beach near the house, and then he waited for this princess. So when this princess appeared, and indeed she did appear on the beach, he quickly introduced himself so as not to scare her, and then asked her, is it okay if I walk alongside? And she said, okay, no problem. And as they started to walk, he said, you know, my readers would really appreciate if you would answer some questions. And to his great joy and surprise, she said, okay, go ahead, ask. But actually he wasn't ready to interview her. He didn't have an interview prepared. So he said to her, okay, just give me a few minutes. I'll organize my thoughts, and I'll ask you some questions. So he was trying to organize an interview in his mind, but this young woman was doing something that was disturbing him, and he couldn't think clearly, because every few moments she would bend down, pick up a shelled animal that was thrown out by the waves, and then throw it back into the ocean. So after she did that a few times, he said to her, Princess, what are you doing? Look at this beach. And already the sun started to come out a little, and you could see more and more. There were lots of these creatures on the beach. He said, there are thousands of these here. What difference will you make? So she just bent down, picked up another one, threw it in the ocean, and as she was throwing it, she said, well, to this one, it will be a hell of a difference. So our practice ultimately is not about having peaceful mind or even being clear. Why be clear? Because we have something to do in this world. So in Buddhism, in Zen, in particular, we talk about direction. We talk about what is the purpose of our practice, what is the purpose of our life. This means in this world there's much suffering. So whose job is it to take care of this? Is it Buddha's job? Maybe somebody will think it's God's job. But we say it's not Buddha's job, that's not God's job. Neither one can do anything. That's our job. But that's quite a big job. If we start worrying about results, then we go to this beach, we see thousands of these creatures, then indeed, what difference can one person make? Nothing.